Good afternoon, everyone, from the Orlando Cricket Ground in Groveland, Florida. It's the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championship here on the MLC Network. The hometown Orlando Galaxy, still in search of their first victory in season 2025, will try to do so against the Atlanta Lightning, who are still trying to keep pace with their crosstown rivals for first place in the South Division, coming in with a record of 3-1. Good day, everyone. My name is Brian Barish. Great to have you along once again for our final match in the South Division on the weekend, as the Lightning, who were emphatic victors over the Fort Lauderdale Lions yesterday, take on an Orlando Galaxy team that is much improved from the previous season, but still does not have the 2 points to show for it. In fact, they have not won in league play going all the way back to 2023. Here is the starting lineup for the Orlando Galaxy, who won the toss, and they have elected to bat. They are led by their wicketkeeper, Christopher Van Tull, and their West Indian veteran, Tangerine Chanderpaul. Number of good other players to keep out for as well. Preston Clark is good with the ball. Orrington Hamilton made probably the catch of the season on opening night. And Hardik Desai is good with both bat and ball. As for the Atlanta Lightning, Monang Patel, the captain, always a danger, as is Fani Simhadri, the all-time leading wicket taker, the man who's in number 5, Amila Aponto, in there as well. Soeb Tai had a good game in yesterday's victory over the Lions. And Mark Parchment in this matchup once had a 111 not out. We'll tell you about that a little later. The Lightning will bowl first. They're on the ground in their yellow with the light blue tops and the royal blue trim, and the Galaxy in their navy blue and orange. And my unbiased opinion, perhaps, is that they are the best. They have the best looking logo in the league and probably one of the best uniforms in the league, but that's besides the point. We will tell you that the Weather Bureau says currently 85 degrees Fahrenheit here at the brand spanking new OCG. There's about a 65% humidity, which is going to go up. There is a chance of rain hovering around the 50% mark. And if you heard the end of the last game between Atlanta Fire and Fort Lauderdale, you heard commentator Ryan Davis say that they were expecting the rain to kind of come by sometime in the next half an hour. We're hoping that the rain gods will let this game go. Of course, the Lightning currently sitting in second place on points with 6, one ahead of the Baltimore Royals, and perhaps both the Royals and the Morrisville Raptors getting a gift from the weather gods yesterday after the Royals were bowled out for 63 last night at Church Street Park, but then the rain set in and washed away the Baltimore Royals innings. And that was that. So those two teams ended up splitting the points. They are underway in the second match today at Church Street Park, and we'll be keeping an eye on that for you as the day goes on. But here in Orlando, it is Chanderpaul and Christopher Van Tull, the angular wicket keeper who is playing his first season in the South Division after playing in the East for his entire MILC career. Played with the Empire State Titans, the DC Hawks, and last year the Philadelphians, and was a key member of a Philadelphian side that came up one game short of the playoffs. But it is Chanderpaul who will face Soeb Tai as the game gets underway. And he tries to work this away to the offside. It 2 hops into the bowler, to the fielder rather, and we're underway here in Groveland as Tai bowls from the northern end. And again, cut away by Chanderpaul, but again, right to a fielder. And again, like to explain, as always, perhaps for folks watching cricket for the first time, each team gets 120 balls to score as many runs as possible. And this one defended by Chanderpaul, so good bowling by Tai, who's done a pretty, who was pretty tidy yesterday. And we'll get to his numbers in a second from the game against the Fort Lauderdale Lions. And And this time, Chanderpaul goes for the sweep. He's got it. But the fielder is there to stop any additional damage. So Chanderpaul takes 4 balls to get off the mark, and that'll bring up Christopher Van Tull. Tie yesterday against the Fort Lauderdale Lightning's 1 for 10. And good bowling, including 15 of his 24 deliveries were dot balls. So here is Christopher Van Tull. As once again, the Galaxy going with a left-right combination. And Van Tull, an American U19 product, has played all over the place. Wicket-keeping specialist. He dabs the ball down to the offside. So Ty keeping things nice and tidy in the opening 6 balls. He was an under-19 player, played 1 game all the way back in 2011 for the USA under-19s against the West Indies, scoring 5 runs. And Ty about to go forward, but then went back as they're rearranging their fields here. So final ball of the first over. And it's a shorter delivery. Van Tull's right fingers got most of that delivery. Good over to start things by Soeb Ty. And after 6 balls, Orlando are 1 for none. One of the things that was mentioned in opening weekend for because Orlando was up in Church Street Park, so Aman Patel and Nate Hayes were on the call. And one of the things that Nate was mentioning is how improved Orlando's defensive skills have been. We'll see how they are in the second part of this innings. But as for Atlanta Lightning, they looked very much in control against the Lions yesterday. And the Lions today against, I would argue, a better team, as we will see one Fanny Sahadri come in. They couldn't even get to 100 runs, and of course Stephen Taylor helped chase that down with ease. Fanny Sahadri, 93 wickets in minor league cricket, and Sarbi Latta took 3 in the washout game yesterday. And even though it's not an official game, there wasn't a result, those do count. So Latta now 1 behind Fanny Sahadri, who has 92. And so we'll see some early pace from Fanny, and Chanderpaul with a nice textbook drive, and he's going to get the first boundary of the game. So Chanderpaul, he's the kind of batter that I think generally would appreciate pace a little bit more, and he drives the ball with authority. And they're 5 for none. And again, he cuts this one away, but it's stopped. They're going to go to the non-striker's end, but the ball gets through. It'll be backed up. So a single for Chanderpaul, who now goes to 6. Or rather, it looked like he kept the strike. So 2 more for the man from Georgetown, the capital of Guyana, 29 years of age. Played with the West Indies for 2 seasons, and he drives this one back down the ground. Quick peg at the stumps, but it scoots on through, and so they'll pick up 1 more by my count. So that's 1. I think they may have missed the 2 in there. So I have them at 8 for none. And Van Tull will come up. Chanderpaul, of course, the son of Shivnarine Chanderpaul, the very famous former captain of the West Indian Test side. And Tangerine having played 10 Test matches in his own right. And this is 33rd match in minor league cricket. Former Fort Lauderdale Lion. Van Tull, meanwhile, in on the pads, and the umpire shakes his head no. We'll take a look at it again. From the naked eye, it looked like it caught the bat, and I think that's exactly what happened. And Simhadri was a little bit more vociferous. So this, I believe, is the final ball of the over. Big swing by Van Tull. And, well, nope. So now we have the final ball of the over coming up. I could have sworn they got 2 off of that. Maybe they got none. And I thought there was a missing ball in there. So once again, I have failed to count the 6. 6 for none. And Simhadri, after that first boundary, as Van Tull came down the wicket there, but turns around. So 2 overs in the books, and good bowling from Fani Simhadri, who gives up just 5 off of it. And 2 overs complete. Orlando, having won the toss and elected the batter, 6 for none. So Chanderpaul will take the strike. And we mentioned 32. This is his 33rd game. And his highest, he's had a couple of 77s, once last year and once in 2023. He has a total of 10 half centuries. So good opening. And Van Tull last season, I mean, he was, for the Philadelphians a season ago, he was, for a team that needed an opener to replace Derek Narine after he went to New Jersey Somerset, as Ty will continue. And this one is guided away by Chanderpaul. No run. Van Tull last season averaged 25.5 runs, a strike rate at 102. He did top score in defeat, where 74 last year. As Chanderpaul pushes this one away, it goes down to third man, and Jordan Werner had to slide in safe at second. So a run. But good bowling by Ty. The question will be, again, after watching one team, arguably, one team that is definitely at the bottom, alongside Orlando at the bottom of the table in the South, struggle to get to 100 runs. But that was after rain last night, and the pitch definitely softer. It has dried out somewhat now. And that's why they wanted to bat, and that's why Christopher Van Tull sends this one to the deep, and it will stay in play. So warning track power, as we would say in baseball, and a couple of runs taken by the big man. So he gets off the mark finally on his 6th delivery. And it's 9 for none. But as Ryan Davis mentioned at the end of the last game, the pitch had dried out, and that's a bit, and that's why the Galaxy perhaps did want to bat first after they won the toss. Another dot ball. And I think Chanderpaul just wanted to get out there and get as much as he can, as that one is swung. Not sure if Van Tull got a piece of that, but it gets behind the wicketkeeper. And so they'll pick up a run. Waiting to confirm whether or not that was off the bat of Christopher Van Tull or whether that was a bye. And in fact, it's been given as a leg bye. And so here is Chanderpaul. Good stuff from Saib Ty, who ends that over with a dot ball, and he gives up just 4 runs. And so the Lightning, as they did to the Lions yesterday, are really squeezing the 2 men in the middle. and two talented batters at that. We're halfway through the power play after 3, Orlando 10 for none. We mentioned how the Lightning did yesterday. As for the Galaxy, Van Tull finished with just 4 runs off of 3 balls, and then Chanderpaul 13 off of 23 as the Galaxy were bowled out for 97, trying to chase down a target of 135 in their game against Atlanta Fire yesterday. And I'll tell you what, the way the Fire have been playing, I don't know very many teams in this division, let alone league, can catch them. As Simhadri is in and bowls something very fierce that Christopher Van Tull cannot get onto. Well, it's been great seeing Fanny bowl again and catch a fair bit of the matches, but you know, he had that magical season that we mentioned yesterday with the Seattle Thunderbolts. Another length ball that Van Tull cannot get on top of, and Simhadri with a little bit of a smile coming back. Third ball of the over to come in. And this time Van Tull he's just flailing at those outside deliveries. And Simhadri was going kind of off stump, fourth stump, and now that was maybe 2 stumps outside off stump. Let's see if he mixes them up or he dares Van Tull to keep going outside. Does come a little bit closer to the wicket, and Van Tull can only fence that away. Great bowling from arguably the best bowler rather, in this competition in its 5 seasons. And I just looked at the statistics. We'll fill you in a second. Sarbjeet Latta has apparently taken a couple this afternoon, and finally Van Tull will get a run here as he thumps it into the ground into the onside. So first run of the over comes with 1 to go. Orlando 11 for none. I mentioned coming into today that Fanny was the highest wicket taker with he had 93, and Sarbjeet Latta has taken 3 himself in the game going on with the Morrisville Raptors. And Chanderpaul kind of had to guide that away from off of his rib cage, and he will keep the strike as he comes on through for a single to end the over. Simhadri does his job well once again, allowing 2 runs, and Orlando struggling to get anything going here and with the restricted fielding after 4, they're 12 for none. Well, just looking at the scorecard in Morrisville, getting confirmation that Sarbjeet Latta is 3 for 21 from 3 overs after a 3 for last night in the game that was ultimately washed out. But you know, he is a spin bowler extraordinary. I would say Fanny is definitely the best fast bowler in the league. You know, probably Shadley von Skolkvik is up there as well, you'd have to say, and Shadley's the leading wicket taker for the season with 15. But we continue, and this time with Chanderpaul back up as Mark Dayal has come in for the first time and takes a single. Dayal in the game yesterday, none for 23, but was very tidy, just 13 dot balls. He bowled just one wide. Now he goes round or over the wicket to the right-hander Van Tull, who again has to defend. So Dayal comes out with some good deliveries to start. The Raptors yesterday, 69. Well, right now they're 69 for 4. Last night they were bowled out for 63. And Van Tull has to go onto his back foot and tiptoes, oddly enough, and no run scored. Mohammad Mohsin, 4 for 19 in that washed out match. And again, it's a shame the Royals couldn't try and what would have been an easy chase in just 19 overs. And Van Tull gets some lift on this one. The sweeper comes all the way around. He's able to stop it as the ball seemed to die a little bit in that relatively wet outfield and keep Van Tull to a single. 4 from 16 deliveries, and Van Tull has the run rate right on 3 runs and over, so that's a half a run a ball. And I think there's a combination of good bowling plus this surface. I'll round the wicket to the left-hander, and Chanderpaul muffs it a little bit. 1 ball still to come. So Sarjeet Latta, 95 wickets to Simhadri's 93 rather. Chanderpaul again defends, and that ends the over. Atlanta Lightning are bowling very, very difficult balls on this pitch. After 5, the Orlando Galaxy are 14 for none. Well, let's take a look at the Galaxy's season so far. As everybody is moving around. And it started with the opening game of the season against the Baltimore Royals. And the Galaxy played really well. They kept, as we said, they kept their fielding mistakes to a minimum and came within 14 runs of the Baltimore Royals as Soeb Tai will come in for his third over. And this one is lined back down over the bowler. And a good stop there at mid-off. And a dot ball. The Atlanta Lightning fielding, especially yesterday, was on point. And big swing, no contact. And again, except Soeb Tai he's coming over the wicket. So as opposed to Simhadri, who is coming over the wicket as a left-hander. And bowling, that's almost a physically straight delivery from Soeb Tai in this case. And he goes in the same spot, and again, Tull not able to do anything with it. So 4 runs from just 19 balls. Again, the same spot. Again, Van Tull. But with all those fielders on the offside, they're anticipating that. I'm curious at what point Christopher Van Tull is going to add a little bit more authority to those swings. Fifth ball of the over. There he starts to open it up, and he whacks it down the ground. Once again, Jordan Warner comes over, and finally a run for Christopher Van Tull, who now goes off of 5 for 21. Those would be good test match numbers or possibly early ODI numbers, but in a T20, 15 runs, one leg by from 35 deliveries is not a very good strike rate in the power play. Chanderpaul will face the final ball of said power play from Soeb Tai, who is had a sparkling performance. And will come in around the wicket, push to the offside, and again into the field. So the Orlando Galaxy have just 15 runs to show from the 6 power play overs. And they are 15 for none after 36 deliveries. In that game yesterday, as we take a look at the story so far, Chanderpaul and Van Tull playing, I think, both cautiously, perhaps a little bit overtly so. And there's the bowling figures, and the econ rates are very good. Soeb Tai, 5 runs from his 3 overs. Vani Simhadri, who has given up the only boundary of the game, but other than that, 3 runs from his other 11 balls. And it's been a really good start for the men in blue and yellow. And yesterday in the game against the Atlanta Fire in the power play, they were 39 for 2. So again, slightly different conditions today. It is humid and warm as the sun comes out. And this is Dawood Azim, I believe. And he had a strong game yesterday as he took a couple of wickets, his first 2 of the season. Played for Atlanta Lightning last year, where he took 1 in seniors play, and he took 3 in the U21 tournament. And again, Van Tull opens up and tries to hit that one somewhere into the Gulf from the middle of the state. And again, he tries, except he gets under it a little bit. If there's a fielder's there, it should be a catch, but there isn't. It went in between the bowler and the man at long off, and so they'll scamper through for a single as Van Tull goes to the 6th. We mentioned his season last year with the Philadelphians. He and Bhaskar Yadram, in my opinion, were the 2 key pickups for the Philadelphians last season, and it's a shame that they didn't get full purchase of them, as they missed out on the playoffs, as we say, by 1 game. But the Philadelphians struggled in their first 4 games to a 1-3 record, and as Chanderpaul defends, I don't know that I feel like there was some of the talk in the Philadelphians camp, at least from some of the fans, were that they really, with Bhaskar Yadram not starting until Labor Day, they really missed him at the top of the order. As Chanderpaul sweeps this one, and it is again fielded as the fielding restrictions have been lifted. You can now have 5 fielders outside the 35-yard circle. And Chanderpaul finally on his 17th delivery is in double digits. And backing up is Van Tull, and again, not really anything to do with that, as he held the bat inward and just had to pendulum the ball onto the onside. And Azim, with his left arm spin, and again, Van Tull tries to chop it, and again, not far enough to get a run. And that ends the over. Azim, as the conga line keeps going, just 2 runs off that 7th over. Orlando are 17 for none. And a reminder, you can follow along with all the statistics just as we are here. You can go to crickclubs.com/MILC and check out all the stuff, all the statistics and the live scoring, not just from this game, but from all games throughout the season. And there's a pretty full schedule today. We already have had a couple of games completed. At least one, as Dayal will continue again from the south end. Or is that the north end? I think that's the south end he's bowling from. The Michigan Cricket Stars and the Chicago Tigers were early today. The Tigers picked up a victory as Chanderpaul drives the first delivery back down the ground. And again, Jordan Warner is there to clean up things. So a single to start the eighth over for Chanderpaul. The Chicago Kingsmen are in St. Louis to play the Americans, or the Amerks, as us hockey fans call them. And Van Tol loads up, and he finally gets a hold of one, and he sends that one out towards Route 33. And so on his 26th delivery face, Christopher Van Tol opens up like we know he can do. It was a Yorker-length delivery, and this time Van Tol was sitting on it. And he doubles his output, and finally, the first maximum and the second ball to go over the rope in this innings. So how will both players react to this? And this time, Van Tol, he had to play this one towards fine leg, and almost surprised him. He almost hit that one with his heel, with the heels coming out of his shoes. And it's a single. This is now the most expensive over from any Atlanta bowler. And Chanderpaul, we'll see what he does here, see if he responds to his partner on the other side. Waited on it nicely, comes forward to drive, but no run there. And Chanderpaul, I think, is going to, it plays this very smart. It's interesting to see how he goes about captaining this team, considering their struggles over the last few years. And, you know, they've, as we said, they didn't win any games last year. They won 1 from 10 in 2023, as this one catches an outside edge and goes at about a 45-degree angle. And Dawood Azim is there to make the stop. And so one ball coming, and the fielding shifting whenever the two batters change striking ends, with Chanderpaul the lefty and Van Tol the righty. Final ball of the eighth over from Dayal, and Van Tol got a little bit of it popped in the air, and that'll do it. So Dayal gives up 9 in that over. Other than giving the 6, he's bowling well. And after 8, well, hang on a second, that may have been a wicket. Oh, well, hang on, everybody's coming in. No, they're just changing rows. All right, forget what I said. They're just changing gloves. It's 26 for none. We mentioned the Orlando Galaxy and their, I guess, how they've navigated things. A look at how they've done over the first 4 seasons in minor league cricket. They were 4-4 their first season with 6 rainouts. They only played 8 of their scheduled 14 games that first year. They finished 3rd of 6 in the South Division. 2022, they were 3-10 with 1 rainout. And then in 2023, they finished 1-9, and their only victory coming in the last game of the 2023 season. That was the last time they tasted victory. Full ball by Azim, who continues, and Chanderpaul is able to stroke a single. If you go all the way back towards, they had lost their first 9 games, and then if you go back to 2022, they last won in game number 12. So 1-9 last season, 0-4 in completed games, 1-17. I think it's 1-19 in their last 20 games. They're trying to break that today as Van Tull loads up and hits this one deep. There is a man who will watch it sail over the rope, over the fence, and over the sight screen. A second maximum for Christopher Van Tull, who is sitting again on a Dawood Azim delivery. Again, a fuller ball. And Van Tull was on that in a flash before the spin could do anything. And a straight drive for 6 from Christopher Van Tull. As we're back to live action, and he'll take a single off the very next ball, 34 for none. As Azim is back on his mark. And this time Chanderpaul waits on one and works it to the offside. The run rate is closer to 4 after anywhere between 3 and 3.5. It's going up a bit. And a big sweep opportunity, a shout for LBW, but the ball gets behind and Fani Samhadri comes around to make the stop. 35 for none. Dawood's final ball of this over. And again, Van Tull loads up. And again, he sends this one. 3 fielders converge, and none of them can get to it. And the question is whether they went back for a second. And in fact, they have. Christopher Van Tull running all the way. He gets 2 more. A big over from him. And Orlando gets another good over in terms of adding to their total. After struggling for the first 7 overs, they have added 11 more in this one. They are 37 for none. So after 17 runs in the first 7 overs, they've gone for 9 in the 8th and then 11 in the 9th. And it will be Chanderpaul who will face Soeb Tai. And Tai will finish his spell. He is allowed just 5 runs in his 3 overs so far. Smacked down the ground by Chanderpaul. He'll take a run and add to Tai's resume. 14 of 18 deliveries prior to that over. Now 14 of 19 have been dot balls. And when you're bowling alongside Fani Samhadri, a man who has limited batters, as Van Tull, will he get another maximum? There is no doubt about that one. CVT goes DT. That was a thing of beauty. 44 for none, and all of a sudden, Christopher Van Tull, who at one point was, I want to say, 6 off of 24 deliveries, is now, his strike rate all of a sudden is creeping up towards 100 as Van Tull hits a moonshot. And he comes down to talk to Chanderpaul. The umpires, by the way, we should mention Joseph Baptiste and Judson Edwards. We saw Judson in the game we did yesterday between the Lightning and Fort Lauderdale. I believe that's Mr. Baptiste. As Soeb Ali will continue. Well, how does this change things now with Van Tull starting to really swing a little bit more freely. They had been playing cautiously. And again, he went down. Did he? No, he stayed in. He just managed to stay in the crease. And this time, Van Tull, when you on a spin bowler, whenever you come down the crease, you always risk the chance that you get stumped. And I think how you combat that is you start out closer to the wicket. This time he waits on the back heel and cuts this one away through the infield. He'll come around after taking a single. So Van Tull now 29 from 34. And now the question is, does Chanderpaul do the same thing? And he has to defend that one. It was an awkward looking motion with the bat. He's up to, we just had it here. He was up to I think 1,077 runs. Final ball of before we go to drinks, and a little flick reverse by Chanderpaul. And it looks like they should have enough gas and enough room to get two here, and they do. So Chanderpaul will go to 17, and the Orlando Galaxy have stepped things up here. It's another double-digit over for them. And at the drinks break, they are 47 without loss. And there is the story, as both of those players were very slow to get off the mark. 29 now from 34 for Chris Van Tull, and for Chanderpaul, 17 from 26. It's the run rate is 4.7, and considering that it was down to 3 for most of it, that's a pretty good turnaround. They're still only on pace for 94, but there are still 60 deliveries to come. And so we'll see how that goes. Pretty tidy bowling, though, from the Atlanta Lightning. You saw just one extra. And so far, the econ rates, which were down under 3 for all the batters, are now up a little bit higher. But not bad considering. And Fanny Simhadri, none for 7 so far. Mark Dayal, none for 11. And Dawood Azim, none for 13. So Abtai has been bowled out already, none for 15. But again, just the one extra, and that was a leg by. So everybody bowling well for the Atlanta Lightning. And that is one of the reasons why the Orlando Galaxy have been held to such a low total. So we'll take a quick little breather, and we'll return for the continuation of this first innings here from Orlando. On the MLC Network, you're watching the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championship. Players are back out as we continue after the drinks break with the Orlando Galaxy 47 for none after 10 overs. Brian Barish here with you. Glad that you're joining us once again. Glad to be back on the cans, so to speak. And what is always intriguing matches in the South Division. And it's been very interesting first 10 overs is Dawood Azim will get the ball here to start the 11th, and Christopher Van Tol. We'll see where this innings goes. And the question is can the Galaxy at least get to 100? We'll see. Is Azim told to go on? And he does. Down the ground, Van Tol, did he get all of it? Yes, he did. Didn't even move, did the fielder. And Christopher Van Tol brings up the 50 with a powerful, powerful smack for 6. Little skip down the ground. And now Christopher Van Tol, who, as we said at one point, was 6 off of 24 balls, and now is even Stevens at 35 from 35. And that is how quickly he can turn things on his head. The wicket-keeping all-rounder. And for Azim, who has bowled well in the last day and a half. And this time Van Tol decides to cut this one away. And Heath Richards comes around to make the stop. So a single for Van Tol, who goes to 36. I think the difference here is unlike the beginning of the first half of this innings, I think the Galaxy are now in a little bit more of a groove, and I think they'll play a little bit more aggressively, especially with that man, Chanderpaul, as he cuts that one, just gets an edge of that one to fine leg, and they'll take one more. So Tangenarine goes to 18 rather, 55 for none. And a looping full delivery, driven, caught, and Van Tol's innings is over. And Azim finally in the 11th over gets the first wicket. And so Christopher Van Tol, who fought back after poking and prodding through the early part of his innings, hits a humpback line drive. And the catch is taken, and that will do it. As Mark Parchment, who took a nice catch yesterday, makes no mistake. So Van Tol, 36 from 37. No 4s, but he whacked 4 6s. Caught by Mark Parchment off the bowling of Dawood Azim, and the Orlando Galaxy are 55 for 1. Suaib Saeed will come in. Another former member of the Fort Lauderdale Lions, 15th minor league cricket match. Top score of 41, which came last season. And see how he did yesterday. Well, I don't think he definitely didn't score any runs. So I'll tell you that for free. And in fact, he was one of 2 players on the Galaxy who went for a duck. And he flails at that one. It's a not ball. None for 3 before being stumped by Jamar Hamilton. And he goes down for the sweep over the infield, just to the outside of the circle where the ball stops almost completely in its tracks. So Azim gets the breakthrough as he gets Christopher Van Tol to line out. And he allows 9 more runs off the over and 11 complete. The Orlando Galaxy are 56 for 1. Emilio Ponzo we'll see for the first time today. And yesterday, Emilio with the ball, 2 wickets for 29. He got Mohib Siddiqui, who was playing well yesterday, and then bowled Nihal Kadakdond for a duck. As we said, currently sitting number 5 all time in the bowling table. And that one troubles Saeed, but he was able to keep it in front of the wicket. No run. Aponso, 75 wickets from 202 overs. And dab down, the ball kind of moves around at his feet a little bit. Going to do some math here in a moment. And that one gets behind Saeed, who probably is very thankful that he didn't drag that onto the stumps. He's going to get 2 out of this as the ball went to find leg. That ball took a very odd angle, and that could have gone directly sideways into his pads, directly back into the stumps, which would have dismissed him, or done what it did, which was go to more of about a 50-degree angle. Coming down the ground is Saeed. He drives one down, and Jordan Warner comes around to stop it after they've taken another single. 2 more balls to come. The fielder shifting around with 2 balls to come in this over. On a hot day here in Orlando. And Chanderpaul pushes this one to the offside. A run will be taken. Be interesting to see how Chanderpaul guides Saeed on the other side. Saeed, of course, is a very competent batter. It's a matter, however, of... Well, he does it. He decides to go. There is a... Yeah, he's going to be gone. LBW. Saeed can't believe it. And so that answers that question. He went down for the reverse. He swung over top of the ball, and it hit him plumb on the pads. And Emilio Aponso has his 76th wicket in minor league play. And Orlando lose another one. They're 60 for 2. Here it is again. Pitched way in line, hit him right on the shin. And I don't think there was any doubt that had that gone through, it would have caught leg stump at the very least. The finger goes up from the umpire, and that'll do it. So Saeed, LBW, and that is the last ball of the 12th over. The 12 for none. Here it is one more time. There's 3 things that need to happen here. The first of which is that it needs to bat. Now, we're at a little bit of an angle here. It has to pitch in line with the stumps. And you can see Saeed perhaps saying that might have gone down leg. It might have been heading towards the leg stump. But he wasn't going to get it. Azim will come in now to complete his over. Let's see. As this one is turned around by Chanderpaul to start the 13th over. And they'll take a run off of this. Just to kind of give you an idea as to the prolificity of the guys at the top of this order. Sarjeet Latta, 95 wickets in 185 overs. So for every full spell of 4 overs, he takes 2.05 wickets, which is pretty impressive. That means every time he goes out there, he will probably get 2 wickets. Kavaripakam, the new batter, will take a single off of his first ball. That's Dinesh Kavaripakam. So 62 for 2. We'll look at the numbers for Dinesh. He's played all over the place, and he comes down the ground. Does Chanderpaul lift off over the head of Heath Richards, and that one goes into the neighbor's yard. And just like back home in Northeast Philly, he has to leap over the fence to retrieve it. A 6 for Chanderpaul. That is his first maximum, and I bet you that felt good. 68 for 2. Down the ground again, this time less aerial. Richards comes over and picks it up on a hop. And it's a single. 69 for 2. We'll do some more math in between overs. Because I was working it out yesterday. It was very interesting to see where some of these higher bowlers, like just the statistical magnitude of how well they can bowl. But for Azim, who bowled well in his first couple of overs now, it's coming back to roost as Dinesh tries to go forward. Kavaripakam. There we go. Kavaripakam. Again, tries to play defensively. It spins away. So good comeback from Azim to finish out this over. He gives up 9 more. Orlando's run rate now over 5 at 5.3. At the end of 13, they are 69 for 2. So we mentioned Sarbjeet Latta, and that he averages 2.05 wickets for every full spell. Fani Simhadri was over 2. He's now at 1.98 wickets per full 4-over spell. And Emila Aponzo is at 1.4. Well, he has one more. He's at 1.5. So a wicket and a half. Left arm over the wicket, and Chanderpaul drubs this one down the ground. And once again, it's Jordan Warner who comes over at mid-off and stops it. The projected score is at 106, and they are still on that line. But it's been, I think, better for Orlando. They've done better to raise the run rate as Dinesh decides to push forward. But I mean, Atlanta has really been on top with their bowling here. And Dawood Azim finishing at 1 for 31. Probably not really a fair assessment, a completely fair assessment of how he's bowled, although in the last couple of overs he's gotten lit up more. But the last 5 overs prior to this one, 11, 10. We'll go back to the 8th. From the 8th over on, 9, 11, 10, 9, 4, 9. And if I told you that Emila Aponzo bowled one of those, I bet you could guess which one of those you would be. Just curling away, going off the pad of Danush Kavaripakam. Good bowling from Emila Aponzo, and maybe this settles everybody else down. And coming in, big appeal, no. May have come off the top of the pad, but I think on height, that wouldn't have gotten the stumps. And it's just another dot ball for Emila Aponzo. Final ball of the 14th over. Opens up, cuts it away. And it'll be another run, and Kavaripakam will keep the strike. They get 2 runs off of Milo Ponso in that over. 71 for 2 after 14. Well, the Atlanta Lightning so far, and of course, well, let's talk about the history between these two teams. These teams played in the second game of the season back last Saturday, as the last Friday actually, as Atlanta were winners by 7 wickets with 20 balls still to come. And Chanderpaul in that game, 47. Christopher Van Tol had 36. And a very good opening partnership, and a very new opening partnership in terms of this Galaxy team. And all things considered, they played pretty well. But the Lightning, that game played up at Church Street Park. As Dayal will come back in. And this one is hit in the air. There's a fielder rushing over. He's got it. And that is the end of Danush Kavaripakam. And Dayal has a wicket. And he was going for a reverse. It was a high top edge. And this one, I think, was this one was before. This was from the over before, where they were looking for an LBW call, but Kavaripakam has to go, as Dawood Azim, who took a wicket, now gets a catch. And Orlando, 71 for 3. And Orrington Hamilton will come out at number 5. So far this season, in the opening game, he had 24, and he had that stunning catch. Here is the wicket of Kavaripakam. And again, a thick top edge. He was trying to go for the scoop sweep. And the wood comes over, easy as you like. Let's back to live action. Hamilton will get his first run. And Orrington Hamilton, I'm assuming this is the same Orrington Hamilton, was a basketball player, a NCAA basketball player from Naples, Florida originally. And you can tell his athletic abilities as he cuts this one, or rather, that's Chanderpaul who cuts it away, and they'll take another single. So 73 for 3. And Hamilton drives this one down the ground. Another run upcoming, but for Dayal, he'll be happy with giving up a run of ball. They are going underneath, just under that at 5:05. And Chanderpaul tries to push it forward, but everybody gets back. Hamilton wearing the same number as Christopher Van Tol, wearing number 55. Wonder if it's the same shirt. I don't know. Well, Orrington Hamilton is a guard. He would be a basketball guard. And Christopher Van Tol, I think, would either be a power forward or a center. I think there's a bit of a difference there. Goes to turn that one, and he's gone as Mark Dayal quaint bowls and Ryan Chanderpaul, who is going for the sweep. And he doesn't know whether to cry or wind his watch. And, well, hang on a second. Everybody was celebrating. Hold on. They're going to talk this over again. We're going to look at it one more time. I think this is a stumping attempt. It is. And the bails are off. And now from where we're seeing, we don't know where his toe is. And it looks like it's been given as a dot ball. We'll look at it one more time. I think the initial reaction was that he was bowled, and that's what I thought. The bails are definitely off. I thought he bowled him. Well, it's been given on the field as a dot ball, and the umpires are explaining. Mayank Patel, who was hot yesterday on a decision. Here it is a little bit closer. I think he's bowled him. I think he's bowled him. And somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm way off base here, but I think he got bowled. And Mayank Patel, in a decision yesterday, well, they're showing this one more time. Let's see. I don't know that the wicketkeeper got. I think this went in. Let's see. So the wickets are off. The stumps are off. The bails are off. I don't know how. I don't know how. I don't know how else you know, unless it goes off the wicketkeeper, which I didn't see. But the square leg umpire was much closer to it than we are, so I don't know. So Chanderpaul stays in under very interesting circumstances. Meanwhile, Orlando are 74 for 3. And this time, it's an LBW shout, but again, they won't get it at the wicket. And they are all, I'll tell you what, they're all over. They're all over these batters here. Hamilton loads up, and again, no contact as Aponso is in for his third. Mark Dial, 1 for 14. He thought he had 2. I was just checking as we go back through these statistics here. As there is Hamilton with a line drive over the bowler's head as Jordan Warner comes around to clean it up. So finally a single as Hamilton goes to 3. I wanted to see if so far this season the Atlanta Lightning have used, because in the game yesterday, they only used 5 bowlers. They used 6 in the first game against Orlando, and that was the same 6 that they normally use, although I say that, they used Heath Richards as the 5th bowler, and Akil Posa bowled 1, as Dayal only bowled 3, as this one is driven once again to the same spot by Chanderpaul. They'll get another single, 76 for 3, and Chanderpaul now 30 from 36. So that was the opening game. They used a 1 bowler for 1, and then everybody else they used for their regulation. Game 2 against Baltimore, again they used 7 bowlers. They used Ravenda Persaud for 1. They only used Dayal for 2 in that. We haven't seen Heath Richards bowl, which has been very interesting. Loading up is Hamilton. He got under it a little bit. The fielder is there, and it's another catch, and Orrington Hamilton now has to go. And that is the end as Mila Aponso gets his 2nd wicket. And the Orlando Galaxy having trouble putting up a score here. They are 76 for 4. Let's see it again. Right down Broad Street. Good turn, about 4th stump, maybe even 5th stump line. And it's Dayal, who thought he had a wicket. And he puts his hand up and says, "Ball don't lie." And it'll be Hardik Desai who will come in. And HD, who coming off of 21 runs yesterday against Atlanta Fire. His team needs some runs. One ball left in the Ponzo over, his 77th wicket in minor league cricket. And he now is 3 behind Zia Mohammed Shahad, the San Ramon Grizzlies, for 4th. Well, final ball, and Hardik Desai will face it round the wicket. And a defensive shot played, work to the offside, and a little bit of a misfield there, but nothing. Some smiles from that, and Desai will keep the strike. So a wicket by Aponso, who's now 2 for 9 from 3 overs. 16 complete from Orlando, the hometown Galaxy, 77 for 4. The Lightning, we were talking about who they were using in the different. They used 6 in the last game against the Fort Lauderdale Lions last week in the first round. They used 6 bowlers, Heath Richards and Mark Dayal 3, and Soeb Ty 2. And I'm glad they're using Ty more in the 4 because his pace, it's been really good to start. And I think it's good to see, because when you think, you have Emilio Ponzo, you have especially Fani Samhadri. Fani bowled the second over, not the first. It's been Ty who started the last couple of games. Dayal is back in from the northern end, and this one is going all the way to fine leg boundary and over for 4. Hardik Desai with his first boundary. And I think, if you're going to have anybody come in with the team nowhere near 3 figures in the 16th over, I think Hardik Desai is the right guy for it. And he swipes at this one, but he goes under his bat. But Desai has his tail up, I think. Fuller ball, cut away, but over the infield, comes in quickly, does Mark Parchment. Now, last ball was given as a wide, so still 4 balls to come. 83 for 4. And Orlando, who looked like they were going to struggle to 100 runs, and that is still, in fact, the projected score, they may still get there. I don't see the reins being on Chanderpaul too much longer. I think at some point he's going to let loose a little bit more, maybe to his detriment. Full toss, hit on the pads, no. And Chanderpaul was saying, no, that was nowhere close, but it was a fuller toss from Mark Dayal, and Chanderpaul went down with the sweep, but I think that was coming across and would have missed the stumps on the leg side. 3 balls still to come in over number 17. Again, a full toss, and again, Chanderpaul looking absolutely silly, swinging at that one and with a wild flail. So Dayal has come back after a 4 and a wide. And it's going 1. Reverse sweep, and this one gets behind the wicket. Just got a top edge to it. And Chanderpaul gets another run. Final ball of the 17th. It's 84 for 4. And Hardik Desai. Don't mind Hardik Desai being on strike in this situation. Over the wicket. Blasted by Hardik Desai. A man, 2 players are there, and they watch helplessly as it goes over the rope. And Hardik Desai doubles his pleasure or doubles his fun on one swing of the bat. It was a low toss. And Desai goes downtown just in front of the restraining fence. So he goes to 12, and after 17, Orlando 90 for 4 as Dayal gives up 13. And he finishes on 1 for 27 from his 4 overs. So 3 overs to come, and it looks like it's going to be Simhadri, Aponso, Simhadri to finish off this spell and this innings. And yesterday when they did that, Simhadri gave up 3 in the 18th against Fort Lauderdale. Aponso gave up 10 in the 19th. And then Simhadri gave up 8. And the Lions, who entered the 18th over at 94 for 6, finished the innings at 112 for 6. But the run rate, as Chanderpaul will face Simhadri from the southern end. And a fake out and a little smile between 2 veterans, Chanderpaul and Fanny Simhadri. 13 runs. That was the first time since the 10th that they had gone for double digits. A Lasith Malinga delivery, and that's going to be a boundary for Chanderpaul, and it has cleared the rope. So Simhadri, that is, he's given up 13 runs, and 12 of them have been off of maximums. And I said a Lasith Malinga because he came at more of a 3/4 arm delivery. It wasn't a chuck, but Chanderpaul goes to 37. He is carrying his bat so far. And Chanderpaul goes to the leg side this time, and it's the same result. So Tangenarine Chanderpaul, who has been under 100 for his strike rate in the 18th over, finally goes on top as he goes to 43. And he is no fear cavalier when it comes to Simhadri as he goes with back-to-back jacks. Tries again. This time it's a sweep shot, but it will be another boundary. And Chanderpaul is looking around and picking out where the fielders aren't. 6-6-4 for T-Chand. And that brings up the last 6, brought up the 100. I was so excited that I failed to mention that. But 16 runs off of 3 balls in Orlando, now 106. And it was the same situation that we saw Atlanta against Fort Lauderdale, as we said. And this one driven into the ground. It goes back behind the wicket and over the head of the 2 men behind the stumps. And so Chanderpaul now goes to 48. And Hardik Desai, as good as Simhadri is, he has not been any match. He's good in the death overs because he is intimidating and because of his pace, especially, towards tail enders. But you've got 2 guys here who are elite batters, I would say. Full toss, and Desai didn't get good wood on it. Ends up being a dot ball. Final ball of the 18th over to come. Fanny had given up 7 runs in his first 2 overs early in the contest, and right in his specialty, as this one is driven by Desai to the onside, and HD stands for hard drive. It's another 6. The third of the over surrendered by Fani Simhadri, and Desai is now averaging 3 runs a ball. My goodness gracious. 23 runs given up by Fani Simhadri, and Orlando, all of a sudden, it looks a little rosier for them. They're 113 for 4. So Aponso will bowl the 19th. And Amila has had better luck. And with these two guys now, let's say hotter than an Iridian right now. That's for all you Project Hail Mary fans out there. 2 for 9. But Tangerine Chanderpaul on 48. Aponso is set from the northern end. And he loads up and just gets an under edge. There's 1 to the total. And so Chanderpaul on 49. Hardik Desai on 18. And Chanderpaul was sweeping for another boundary. Aponso's pace has served him in good stead. These two have not been afraid to swing away here. A slower delivery, and Desai helicopters but can't make contact. Shuffled a little bit, got hold of this one, coming in, and makes the catch. And Desai, for all of his bluster, is gone for 18, and it's a 3 for Amila Aponso, who gets his 78th minor league cricket wicket. And Orlando, 114 for 5, but don't underestimate how important that wicket, that stand rather, by Desai was, alongside Chanderpaul, to at least help get a score. It is a partnership of 38 runs, although most of it thanks to Chanderpaul. Well, I say that, and it was almost even Stevens. It seemed like it was almost Chanderpaul, but of those 38 runs, 19 of they each faced 8 deliveries, and Chanderpaul had 19, and Hardik Desai had 18. And the run rate now over 6. It is really kind of snaked upward. This is Manav Patel. How long has Manav Patel been in the league? He played for the Florida Beamers. And he drives one to the onside, and he welcomes himself with another win. He's welcomed with a wicket, and Aponso is on a hat trick. As Patel drove this one, we lost sight of the ball for a second, but it was taken by the man at long on. or mid-wicket, beg your pardon, and that will do it. So Aponso has 2 and 2, 2 and 2. He has a fourfer, and now will we see the second hat trick of the weekend? We saw one yesterday, and now I got to find where it was. It was, I believe, the game in Chicago. And let's see, as Qatari will come in. No, it wasn't that one. It may have been the game in St. Louis. We'll check in a moment. But in any event, another hat trick yesterday. And to go with the one last weekend with Devashwari Prasad. So here is Qatari, and here is Aponso. And this one is driven down the ground. There's a man there. It's taken. Amila Aponso has a hat trick. And it's a fifer. What a performance. What a bowler. And Amila Aponso becomes the 12th. It's the 12th hat trick in minor league cricket history. And for all the stuff that he has done in this league, if you can believe it, it is his first. Amila Aponso, a hat trick in the 19th over against the Orlando Galaxy. It was a fuller ball. This was Desai. This was the first one. As the catch was made by Saib Tai, then it's Manak Patel, the captain, who took the catch to relieve and dismiss Manav Patel. And then it's Mark Parchment with his second catch of the day. A thumbs up for his longtime teammate. And as Romario King gets a dot ball, Amila Aponso finishes the day with a fifer. 5 for 10 from 4 overs. And the Orlando Galaxy are 114 for 7. Well, that is the third hat trick of the season. Meanwhile, as Simhadri, who was lit up for 23 runs in the last over, comes in, now we've got Chanderpaul, who will come to strike on one away from a half century. And here's the first ball from Simhadri. Down the ground, and he will get his half century. Tangenarine Chanderpaul. In fact, they'll get 2. It is his 11th half century. The West Indian former Test cricket player. And he gets a handshake from Romario King. 51 off of 45. And he fought his way back with those sixes to get to where he is, which is a positive strike rate. And it's a full toss by Simhadri, who has looked frankly ordinary. It is a 6 for Chanderpaul, who has it going on all of a sudden. 8 more given up by Fani Simhadri in this over, and it was right in his wheelhouse. No mistake. And it has been a captain's knock, irrespective of how it ends. 122 for 7 all of a sudden. And they were struggling just to get to 100 a few overs ago. Top edges this one down. and they'll get a single. They're going to go for 2, and they've got it. It wasn't a good throw. And Romario King applauding his captain, who is playing inspired stuff here. And as good as the Lightning is, and you still might have to tip them at this point, you got to give it to the Orlando Galaxy. They haven't won a game yet this season, but I think anybody who's watched this competition over the last couple of years would have to agree this is probably the best they've played in the last 3 seasons. Again, 1 win in the last 2 seasons. And as I said, in their last 20 games, they've only won once. But this is the best they've played, I think, in the last couple of years. And they play from the top. 3 balls to go for Simhadri. And this time, again, Chanderpaul was trying to get to it, and it just went in between bat and stump. And as we said, for Fanny Simhadri, he has now given up 40 runs. Very expensive. The other hat trick, by the way, yesterday was Abimanyu Lamba, who took 5 in the game yesterday against Chicago Kingsmen. Chanderpaul gets underneath this one, and, well, we'll see if he made the catch. And I don't think he did. I think it may have dropped in front. And we were obscured there by the fielder. And in fact, he did make the catch. He just got under this one. But for Tangerine Chanderpaul, a very strong innings from him as Monang Patel comes in and makes a good sliding catch. So 59 from 49 for Chanderpaul, 2 4s and 4 6s. And it will be Preston Clark, the bowling specialist, who will come in and face the final ball of this over. A very eventful innings, and we're only halfway done this game. Simhadri, the final ball comes in. Clark drubs this one down the ground. They'll zing it back in. They'll get 2. And Preston Clark finishes the innings with 2 more runs. And Fani Simhadri, an uncharacteristically rough outing from him, 1 from 42. He does get that big wicket, but not before a huge, huge recovery from the Orlando Galaxy. Christopher Van Tull, it took him a while before he finally got going. He was finally retired in the second half of the match in the 11th over for 36. And other than Hardik Desai, who was 18 for 8, Chanderpaul didn't really get a whole lot of help on the other side, but he didn't really need it. 59 from 49. And they finish with 127. At one point, it looked like they were going to struggle to get to 100. For the bowling, the story right there at the bottom. Emila Aponzo, a hat trick, 5 for 10. But overall, aside from Azim towards the end and from Simhadri in the death, it was pretty tidy from Atlanta for most of the innings, as they only gave up 2 extras, and for a while it looked like the Galaxy were going to get held down maybe to about 90 runs. But Hardik Desai and Tangerine Chanderpaul have brought them to, I think, a respectable finish. But the Atlanta Lightning, they've got a lot of weapons. Manik Patel is looming. Nicholas Manohar is there. Mark Dayal, Mark Parchment, who has hit his only century in minor league cricket against Orlando, albeit in a rainout in the first game played between these two teams 5 years ago. So the run chase, the goal for the Lightning to get their 4th win will be 127 runs. We'll see if they can get that when we return for the second half. You're watching the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championship here on the MLC Network. And we're back here at the Orlando Cricket Ground for the 2025 Minor League Cricket Championship here on the MLC Network. The Orlando Galaxy fought back well to finish with a total of 126. So it'll be up to the Atlanta Lightning to score 127 runs if they want to win their fourth game of the season and keep pace with all the other teams at the top of the South Division. For the Galaxy, they want to get their first, they want to defend that 127 target. If they do, they'll get their first win in 2 seasons. Brian Barisher with you. Glad to have you along. And this should be a very interesting next hour plus or so, we'll say. And the players are coming out on the field, the 2 batters for the Atlanta Lightning. And we'll find out who they are. In fact, it's Heath Richards batting alongside Nicholas Manohar. And Manohar yesterday in the leadoff role got 37 runs. The game yesterday against Fort Lauderdale Lions, it was Manohar and Monank Patel. In fact, Heath did not bat yesterday. He was in the field, but he hasn't batted since, in fact, you got to go all the way back to last Saturday, the last time that he batted. He scored just 1 run, and he didn't play at all in 2024, but he batted 3 innings in 2023 and scored 22 runs. He had as high of 30 in 2022 with the Lightning. So the required run rate here at the start is 6.35. We did a quick check of the weather. There is still some rain around, and we haven't seen any in the first part of this game, and so we're hoping that it will evade us and we can get a full match in. As Manohar will bat from the left side. And a reminder to those of you who are relatively new to cricket, if rain does interrupt things, if we only get 5 overs in, we should be in good shape. Manav Patel is the bowler. He goes left arm with spin around the wicket, or over the wicket, and Manohar tries cutting it away. There is no run. Be interesting to see how this pitch behaves. The Galaxy won the toss and elected to bat first. And after rain last night made the pitch very spinny, the Atlanta Fire in the first game elected the bowl after winning it as Manohar drops the ball down. They get 1. And that is it. And we will see Heath Richards to the strike. The wicket seems to have been drying out as the day has gone on, of course, with the temperature at, in the upper 80s. Heath Richards from South Africa, 24 years of age, from Kanaisna. I think that's how you pronounce it. And if you don't, I apologize to all of our South African friends out there. Oh, and he's gone. First ball, it is a spicy golden duck as Patel causes Richards to drag his shot onto the stumps. And after 3 balls, the Atlanta Lightning are 1 for 1. And they are happy as Larry, as ever happy he is. Yup, dragged onto the stumps. He was trying to play the ball away. And Heath Richards goes back to the dugout and will need a hug. And so Monank Patel, who was in the opening partnership with Nicholas Manohar yesterday, now finds himself out there essentially in the same role, but his team is already down a wicket. And we are midway through the first over. He tried to just dab the ball down to the offside, but to no avail. So Manav gets a wicket. He had one in the game yesterday against Atlanta Fire. And he had one last week as well. So that is his third. And the Atlanta Lightning captain tries to open up and edges this one down to the third man boundary for 4. So that's how you come back from giving up a golden duck. It's a top edge cut shot and runs away for the first boundary. So Monank, who, he's another guy. He leads very much from the front. Had a tough game yesterday. This time he turns this one to fine leg, but it's fielded. One more ball to come. Very eventful match. In case you missed it, we had a hat trick by Amila Aponso, who ended up taking a fifer. Tangenaride Chanderpaul, however, with a half century, his 11th. He ended up on 59 as Patel now just guides the ball to the onside. He will keep the strike after they take a run. But Manav Patel gets an early wicket in this first over. And Manav Patel gets 5 runs of the 6, chasing 127 to win. The Atlanta Lightning are 6 for 1 after the first. So just in case you were joining us late, the Orlando Galaxy really struggled with the run rate in the early going. Their run rate did not go over 4 until the 9th over. And from that point on, they started to accelerate. And we mentioned Chanderpaul as Preston Clark comes in. And Clark, the spinner, goes with some leg spin, and Patel trying to reach out and touch someone, just like in the 1980s. It was Bell Atlantic, right? Yeah, Bell Atlantic made those commercials. And dab down to the onside, except he made no contact. So a wide given up by Preston Clark. See how Preston's done so far this season. 5th match. He took a 3-fer in the game yesterday against Atlanta Fire. And Monag tries to drive the ball down the ground and dribbles it through to the man at long on. He'll take a single. So again, Atlanta going with the left-right combination. Manohar, the left-hander. Monank, the right-hander. The field switches around. We'll be keeping an eye on how well the Galaxy play defensively. We said at the end of the over, they have really improved on the last couple of seasons. Guided away by Manohar. And this one's going to be a race to the rope. It's going to be stopped just inside by Orrington Hamilton. And a run for 2 for Nicholas Manohar, and they're already up to 10. Well, it took a while for the Orlando Galaxy to get started. At one point, they only scored 17 runs in the power play. So check that. It was only 15 runs in the power play. Manohar works it to the offside, chops that one into the ground. No run. Good comeback by Preston Clark. Bowls this one, the 5th ball of the over, and it's turned aside by Manohar. Another run will come in. Nicholas Manohar was a key man at the top, helped steady things for the victory. And the Bayesian spinner gives that one up to Patel, who flays that one away to the offside and finishes the over with another boundary. So second for Mayank Patel. He's in the double digits. Atlanta are 15 for 1. It was a looping ball, short toss. And Mayank was going to always be on the other end of that one. And they are 15 for 1 after 2. 112 required off the final 18. Mayank Patel, born in Anand, India, 32 years of age. Now waits on the other side as Nicholas Manohar. We'll get the ball. The delivery from Mayank Patel, tries to drive, does so to the onside, but straight to a fielder. Mayank, U.S. national team player. 67 ODIs. 3 centuries, as this one is driven down by Nicholas Manohar. Again, stopped in the deep. Orlando is already, as we said, Atlanta rather, has already matched Orlando in terms of how many they've scored in the power play, and they've only not even batted 2.5 overs. But they also they've lost a wicket. Orlando was 15 for none. Turned aside by Manohar, gets by the fielder, but he has backup as Harrington is there, and Hardik Desai gets the ball in the second bite of the cherry and zings it back in. So a misfield, giving up 1, perhaps 2 runs there for Nicholas Manohar. 17 for 1. Slightly ahead of the required run rate, but early days. Went for the big slog, and all he gets on that is a little rub on the arm because it went through and hit him flush right on the meaty bit. Mayank Patel bowling well, 1 for 8 from 10 balls. Comes in, watch that one, sails wide, and Mayank surrenders his first extra. Opens up, does Nicholas Manohar, and pulls it to the onside. It's another single. 129 for 1. They've built themselves a foundation, the Lightning, to where 1 run from here on out is good, although it would make things rather dicey towards the end. The Lightning are not going to be content. We'll say that. We'll say that. They won't be content to go at a run of ball. I think at some point, once they maneuver these overs, they'll open up. Went to turn that one around and does to fine leg. And both Mayank Patel, Christopher Van Tull were looking in each other's armpits looking for the ball. And that actually he did not make contact, ends up being a wide +1. So 2 wides. And that extends this over by 1 more ball. Manohar faces, and this one is well struck. And that one clears the rope for 6. Just beyond, hit the sand trap in front of the chain link fence. And Nicholas Manohar is in the double digits. And that's the powerful possibilities. That ends the third over. Mayank, after a solid first over, ends up giving up 11 off of this one, and Atlanta Lightning are 27 for 1, and they now need 100 exactly from these final 17 overs. Quick check of the other game going on in just a moment as Morrisville hosting Baltimore Royals. Preston Clark will continue from the southern end. And Mayank Patel on a long toss will drive that down the ground. Straight down the ground it goes. Third boundary for Mayank. And the captain Goes to 14 off of 7, 31 for 1. Not much of a turn there. And Monarch makes no mistake. So we mentioned Baltimore and Morrisville. The Raptors, 123 for 9 in their innings. We mentioned Sarbjeet Latta getting the taking over the overall wicket lead, the all-time wicket lead with a 3-fer in this game. As that one is dabbed down this time by Monarch, as Clark's ball was closer to the stumps. Quick peg at the non-striker's end, and Monarch was able to get in on time, so 32 for 1. That was Sarbjeet Latta, who had 3, and Rishi Dhawan also had 3. Mihir Patel, 33, and George Baldwin, 39, was the top scorer for Morrisville. In reply, they're in the 9th, and the Baltimore Royals are 69 for 1. Cut away by Nicholas Manohar, but right to the infield. No run. In fact, that's for Mario King in his trademark floppy hat, who makes the stop. So the Royals need 55 off of 68, and they're in good shape to go to 3-0 with the one rainout last night, as Manohar looks at a good delivery from Clark. 2 dot balls in a row for Preston. And again, just recapping from last night, the game, as Morrisville was bowled out for 63 before the rain came and truncated it. This is going to be awfully close to the non-striker's end. It was very close. And on the naked eye, it looked like he got him. But Manohar did just get back for a single. That was awfully close. But Clark didn't appeal. I think he knew. But good play to restrict them to just the one. Monarch Patel will face the last ball of the 4th over. He opens up. It's in the air, and it's beyond the drawn-in infield, and will roll over for 4 more. Monarch Patel gets his 4th boundary. 19 from 9 for the captain. 37 for 1. And again, Preston Clark was looking for one in on the legs. And Monarch Patel had no problems dealing with that one. So a palindromic over for Clark, 4-1.14. 10 more runs. Atlanta 37 for 1. Now 90 required off the final 16 overs. Brian Barish, by the way, here with you in this last game of the South Division. Atlanta Fire with an easy victory over Orlando Galaxy earlier on. The Fire 5-0. If the Royals hang on the win, they currently sit on 5 points. If they win, they'll go to 7. If the Lightning win, they'll move up to 8 points and would be in second on points, as Syed will come in. Syed didn't do terribly well with the bat, as Manohar laces this one, and it's another 4. So Nicholas Manohar finally gets his first 4 to go with the 6 he had earlier. And Shuab Saeed, loping run up. It was a short ball that didn't really bounce a whole lot. And Nicholas Manohar read it well. Seemed like it had a lot of topspin. It was like a flipper ball. Similar delivery, except more of a back of a length here. And Manohar will get a run off of this. So he goes to 19. Atlanta 42 for 1. The run rate right now, there is almost a 2-1 advantage. 4 more balls, this becomes an official game, as we've had our eye on the weather map for the entirety of this afternoon, because there was rain in the area, but right now we're okay. Patel drives the ball. It was like a smack right down the ground. Stopped and mid-off. And it's another single. And now both men, they were on 19. Monac is now 20 for 10. 3 balls to come in this 5th over. And as we said, 3 more balls, it does become an official game. And then from at that point, if it ends suddenly or if we have to shorten it, then we will get a result. Syed goes with a Yorker length delivery on Nicholas Matahar. Now the 2 batters in the middle are even once again. And Atlanta's run rate is much, much quicker. As we said, Orlando at this point were 14 for none. They were really struggling as Monac goes to the leg side. And it's another run. And again, when you don't want to rely on a run of ball, but when you've built up the house money that you have, if you end up taking a run here or there, you can't be dissatisfied. Final ball of the 5th over comes in, dabbed down by Monahar, and Christopher Van Tull gathers it and flips it in. 5 overs complete. Syed gives up 8 in that one, chasing 82 more runs. Atlanta are 45 for 1. Well, we're already going to look ahead to next weekend here in the South Division. And for these 2 teams in particular, Orlando Galaxy make the journey up to Church Street Park, where they will play 3 games. They'll play Saturday night against Baltimore, Sunday night against Morrisville, and then we'll play once again on Monday afternoon at 12:30 Eastern, also against the Raptors. And so after that, they'll have just 2 games remaining, as Batad will come in and bowl for the first time. They'll be back here in Orlando. What's been a banner weekend. We haven't really talked much about this ground. We will in a moment. It'll be the Orlando Derby as they'll play the Fort Lauderdale Lions. Batad's first delivery defended by Monang Patel. Pranav Batad. And his first season in minor league cricket, yet to take a wicket. And Patel chops the ball into the ground. There is no run, so 2 good balls to start. As for the Atlanta Lightning, they do not play next week at all. They're off next week. Hit in the air by Monang Patel. No doubt about that one. He was toying with Patad, and he whacks a waximum. I've used smaximum before, but that is very much a waximum. And that brings up the 50 as Monang Patel now 27 off of 14. That's his first 6. 51 for 1. Loads up, this time decides to play defensively, and it was more of a defensive chop shot. I guess I don't think it was a defensive shot. I think there was more of a chance to just kind of like chop it to the offside, but it is no run rather. This time he opens up and works it to the offside. So a single, 52 for 1, and Manahar will come up. So after Heath Richards was bowled for a golden duck, a 51-run partnership. So that last run brought up that 6 also brought up the 50 partnership. As this one is worked away by Manahar. So the partnership is now at 50. The team is now over 50. And at the end of the power play, Atlanta well and truly ahead here. They are 52 for 1. So we mentioned the Atlanta Lightning are off next week. In fact, neither Atlanta team is playing next week. The Fire are off next week as well. The Lightning will be back in action at home finally for the first time at the Paramveers ground. And here is the captain, Chanderpaul, who is coming off a half century, set the bowl the first over after the power play. The Lightning will play Baltimore on Friday afternoon. They'll play Morrisville on Saturday morning. This is the 20th. First delivery is flicked by Monank Patel, and he'll take a run. 53 for 1. So Friday the 19th at Baltimore, Saturday the 20th against Morrisville, and then again Sunday, September 21st in the morning against Morrisville at 10:15. And then the only games on the last weekend, Friday the 26th and Saturday the 27th, Atlanta Fire and Atlanta Lightning. That'll also be at Paramveer. So this will be the last game for both Atlanta teams outside of the state of Georgia, as that one was into the knees. And the huge smile on his face, Christopher Van Tull, he had the scramble. He looked like very difficult for him to try and keep that. It ends up being a lev by, but for a man his size, he's like 6 feet 8 inches tall. And seeing him squat down behind the wicket as Monank will get another run here. So a leg by before, and Monank now with 2 runs. So 30 from 18. Chanderpaul tries to go leg side, and Manohar ends up pushing forward, and they looked like they were going to scramble through for a single, but they didn't. How's Chanderpaul's bowling numbers, you ask? He doesn't bowl a whole lot. This is only his 12th innings bowling, as Manohar this time turns it to the onside, and they will gather another run, 56 for 1. In 11 innings, he's taken 17 wickets. He does have a 4-fer, which oddly enough was the first game that he bowled in minor league cricket. Final ball of the over, and Patel again with a work job to the onside, and it's another single, and that ends the over. We are through 7 overs here in Orlando. The Atlanta Lightning chasing down a target of 127, have 70 runs remaining. They're 57 for 1. We mentioned the Orlando Cricket Ground and Ryan Davis, who's done such a fantastic job on the other 2 matches here. Has mentioned, of course, that this ground has been in the works for a couple of years, as Batad will come back in from the southern end. And a couple of hurricanes last year, of course, and a couple of big ones that blew through, really did a lot of damage in this area. Obviously, as Patel went for a big slog, but right to the fielder in the deep, and they will only get a run from this, so he goes to 32. And it really, in addition, of course, to a lot of the damage and things I would say that were much more important, loss of life and number, just really devastating the region. The fact that they were able to get, there were a lot of sporting facilities that were affected, and the fact that we're finally able to play minor league cricket and that the Galaxy finally have a home ground is such an amazing story. As Manohar tried to go through the air, but again drops in front of the fielder. Still 58 for 1, as they didn't take a run there. And great to see more grounds start to pop up, especially with natural turf wickets, as that one just eluded Batad as he came forward. So he's given up that 1-6, has Pranav Batad, but has done well otherwise. Manohar tries to flay it away, and 2 balls to come. Batad played a lot of cricket in Houston, and also as a University of Georgia student. And he right now is schooling Nicholas Manohar 4 consecutive dot balls. 1 ball to come in the 8th over. And Manohar wanted a reverse sweep all the way, gets through the first fielder, and has scampered all the way for 4. So Nicholas Manohar made up his mind, as I don't think the ball had left Pranav Batad's hand, and he was already doing the reverse. And it's 4 more, and at the end of 8, Atlanta are 62 for 1. And they require 65 from the final 12 overs. So 65 from 72. And they are 19 runs ahead of the par score. Chanderpaul continues. Patel gets it in the air by the fielders. Sweeper comes around, hurls it back in. And Mayank Patel takes 2 more. Mayank Patel is going to have his tail up here. Especially, he's a fiery character. You've seen that when he's played for the national team. Guides the ball away to the offside. Good stop there to prevent more than 1 run from being taken. 35 now. Mayank's best innings coming in the game last Sunday, beg your pardon, as he drives it down. Now he'll take his 35th run. 65 for 1. So far, 69-11. Well, before that, he had 45 opening weekend. He had 45, 9, and 69 before 11 yesterday. And so far this season, he is averaging 55 1/3 as Manohar plays this one away to the offside, and they take another run, 66 for 1. Orlando's innings was very slow. In fact, at this point, they were 37 for none. And Van Tull and Chanderpaul were playing very deliberately and cut away by Mayank Patel. And that is a no doubt for Mayank Patel, hitting them to all parts of the oval. And even the great Tangenerayan Chanderpaul not immune to Patel's wizardry. He is wielding the willow here. And he goes to 39. Atlanta now up to 70 runs. Final ball of the over is in the air. It is through the fielder who made a supreme effort to drive for the ball. Back-to-back boundaries ends the over. Here it is again. This time he turned it to the onside and pulled it away. There was a chance for a catch, I believe by Hardik Desai, but it goes begging, and Chanderpaul gives up 12 runs in this over. 74 for 1 Atlanta after 9. They require 53 off the final 66. As we were saying, 37 for none at the end of 9. So they have literally double the runs that Orlando had at this juncture in the game. And the DLS par score, they are 25 runs ahead of that, as Batad will come back in for his third. And it'll be the last over before the drinks break. But in the final 4 overs, Orlando, who came into the 17th at 77 for 4, what is that? 25 and 24. That's 49 runs. Manohar's first ball is just dinked to the onside. They scamper through for 1. 13 in the 17th off of Dayal. 23 in the 18th off of Fani Simhadri. Emilio Aponzo then comes in, gets a hat trick, and gives up just 1. And then Simhadri, you would think, would try and build off of that. He gives up 12. But he also got the wicket of Chanderpaul in the process. Hit in the air. Does it have the distance? It does not. And that may have been caught. And Mayank Patel is gone. He will not get a half century on his side. But the partnership comes to an end between Patel and Manohar. Batad gets a wicket. A 74-run stand comes to an end. And the captain has to go for 43 off of 26 in Atlanta, now 75 for 2. So Pranav Batad gets his first wicket in minor league cricket. And a shoestring catch made by Hardik Desai. And it comes 4 balls before the drinks break. So here's a look after Heath Richards was bowled on his first delivery on the 3rd ball of the innings. Patel and Manohar put together a 74-run partnership. Manohar still in there, trying to better his 33 from yesterday, but a good knock from Mayank Patel, who ends up with 6 fours and a maximum. And here is the bowling figures, and not terrible bowling figures at all. The economy rates probably could be a little bit lower, but Pranav Batad right now, the best of them, 1 from 13. And this is 3rd over. Manav Patel, 1 from 18. And it's the run rate right now is, here's the summary. And of course, the big stories in the first innings, there were 2 of them. Chanderpaul, the half century, his 11th in minor league cricket, 59 from 49. But Emilio Aponzo, a hat trick en route to 5 for 10. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Emilio Aponzo, the 12th man to take a hat trick in minor league cricket. There have been 12 hat tricks in MILC history. And it looks like they are taking the drinks break now, which is not uncommon. They always kind of round up when it comes to that. The 12, we'll run through the 12. There have been 3 this season. Deveshwari Prasad of the Philadelphians took one last weekend. Abhimanyu Lamba actually had 4 in 4 yesterday against the Chicago Kingsmen. And then Emilio Aponzo, who joins Fani Simhadri, who has had a hat trick as well earlier on. Usman Rafiq, Niraj Gul, Sharav Netravalkar. We mentioned Prashad. Rovman Powell in the first season for the New Jersey Stallions. Gadjanian Singh for the New Jersey Somerset Cavaliers last year. Matthew Ford with the Morrisville Raptors. And Zia Ul-Haq of the Chicago Kingsmen. Those are the 12 who have taken hat tricks. And it will be Jordan Warner who will come in at number 4. They are in decent shape, are the Lightning. They have almost twice the run rate. They're going at 804, whereas the Lightning are just a shade under 5. As you see Batad either doing the Hail Marys or, well, he's fixing his field. Warner yesterday, 27 towards the end of the innings. Big shout for an LBW, but no dice as Warner came forward. And looks like it was pitching. Well, it was pitching outside off stump, but I think the spin had taken it to the point where it would have gone across the stumps and it wouldn't have hit it. This one, a big swing, and it kept low underneath. Jordan Warner, as we said yesterday, 27 years of age. He'll turn 28 in a couple of months' time. Trinidad Tobago under 19 product from about 10 years ago. And he goes down to defend. And so Batad is bowled, by and large, he's been bowling extremely well. And at least leading the fight to defend this total. Last ball of the 10th over. It's guided away by Jordan Warner, but not far enough to trouble the scorers. 1 run and the wicket as Monank Patel departs for 43, and Atlanta at the midway point are 75 for 2. They need 52 from the final 60 balls. Started to say a 74-run partnership. For Manohar and Monank. On the final analysis of that partnership was Manohar 26 from 27 and Monank Patel 43 from 26. We'll see how the Galaxy, how they decide they want to bowl as Manav Patel comes back on the strike. He bowled Heath Richards with his 3rd delivery of the ball game, all the way back 9 overs ago. 75 for 2 Atlanta. This is an official game at this point, and if the game were, we've been tracking the rain that's been in the area. It hasn't troubled us just yet, but at this point, if the game ends, Atlanta well and truly in control as Manohar tried to cut it away, but nothing but air. Brian Barish here with you. Glad you were with us on this Sunday afternoon here, the beginning of September. Is round 2 winding down as Manohar opens up and drives this one to the onside. And Manav Patel gives up a run, and Manohar now goes to 28 off of 31. The required rate now at 5 1/4. We'll peek in on the other game in just a moment, as again that very much affecting it appears, I would say, if this result holds, if Atlanta should hang on, should go on and win this game, is a clear delineation between the top 3 teams and the bottom 3 teams, with the Lightning, the Fire, and the Baltimore Royals at the top as Warner goes down and sweeps it away. And so Jordan Warner gets his first boundary of the day as Manav Patel bowled one right at his kneecaps. Bit of an off spin, and a good job by Warner to go down. He said, I'll take the risk because it pitched on the leg side, so it wouldn't have been LBW. So it wasn't even a calculated risk. He tries the same shot. This one may have gone bat pad, but it dribbles behind. Van Tull races to chase it down. Van Tull was wearing 55 later. He's now gone into his number 18 shirt, and that's the same number he wore last year with the Philadelphians. And Christopher Van Tull, I started to say at the beginning of his innings, he's played all over the place. He's played all over in the Eastern region. He's played for Empire State Titans, who are now the NYC Titans, the DC Hawks, who are now the Baltimore Royals, and the Philadelphians last season as Manohar chops it into the ground, no run. And now he's playing for Orlando Galaxy, and it's been a huge pickup with bat, and also just having a man, one, of his like physical stature, and two, I think of his experience, having him behind the stumps. A lot of really good wicket keepers out there. He's one of them, and I would always regard him as one of the best in the Eastern region. Manohar goes down and drives this one down the ground, and I think this will be 4. It will. So Nicholas Manohar will end the 11th over with a boundary. And that is his second. And he is on to 32. And the Atlanta Lightning, in fact, those were given as 4 byes. Did he miss it? Yeah, he missed it completely. So from our angle, it looked like he smacked it down the ground, but in fact, they went through everybody. And we were just talking about Christopher Van Tull. And yeah, that went right between. I apologize, folks. I thought he hit that ball, but it will be Jordan Warner who will take the strike. That's the end of the 11th over. 85 for 2. And 42 now required from the final 54 balls. And it will be Batad who will finish his spell. He's been the pick of the bowler so far. Cut away by Jordan Warner and stopped. Just dropped in front of the fielder. No run. Batad, good spin battalion here. It's been mostly spinned by the Galaxy, as that one is dabbed away. Again, no run able to be taken, so good job by Batad to slow things down a little bit. Run rate now back down under 5. It's going to creep up as they did end up taking a run off of that, so 86 for 2. But still, good bowling by Batad. So yeah, Orlando's going to play 3 games next week. Atlanta has the weekend off. And then they're scheduled to play each other the last weekend of September. Chopped into the ground once again by Nicholas Manohar. Flipped back in by Chanderpaul. Not after the two have run the single. 29 now off of 34. And Atlanta now at this point, with 40 to win, a run a ball is perfectly fine. There's always the question of the run rate, but as long as you get the 2 points for the victory, and if they do, they'll go into their break in second. Warner opens up and cuts it away. Another single. 88 for 2. Couple of snowmen. The end of this over, we'll take a peek at some of the other scores. We mentioned Baltimore requires 24 from the final 36 to defeat Morrisville. That game going on at Church Street Park. Reverse sweep attempt by Manohar, but not eligible for an LBW decision. I shouldn't say not eligible, but not given as one. Coming across the body, and I think he got bat on that first. Umpire shakes his head. And then Batad realized at the last second that he needed to go over and get the ball, as this one is swept away by Manohar. It's stopped in front of the boundary. And the question is whether or not they got back for a single. They didn't. Good fielding of the ball. Sometimes when you hit the ball without, they get the one. I'm sorry, I misread that. Sometimes when you hit the ball that quickly, you do so fast that you're not even able to get the single, but they do. And Jordan Warner will retain the strike as we head into the 13th. Atlanta need 38 from the final 48 to win. Some of the other matches that are happening right now. Kings 11 Dallas taking on Lone Star Athletics. They're 114 for 3, batting first in the 13th. And the other game, the Seattle Thunderbolts taking on the San Ramon Grizzlies. That game is up in Seattle at Tollgate Farms Park. That's just fun to say. Manav Patel will come in for his final over. And bowls a beauty to start things off. Manohar 30 from 37. And after Manik Patel went 43 from 26. As he goes for this one, I think these are going to end up being buys, as this one's going to race all the way to the rope. Fielder will stop at about 6 feet before it gets there. So 2 more runs to the total. Whether or not he made contact with the bat, I didn't see the umpire's signal, but we'll see in just a moment. In fact, not only that, but it ends up being 3 wides. So not only do they get 3 more runs, but they get a free ball here. And this time Manohar turns it to the onside. So 4 runs from 3 deliveries, and now all of a sudden the equation is 34 from 46. And the bowling not as tidy, as now 7 wides have been given up. 6 of them, by the way, from Manav Patel, who has bowled well. He hasn't set the world on fire, but he hasn't had a disgraceful performance. As Warner tried to work it away, but it bounced away from him and not able to make contact. So he comes back. Of course, if he misses in the first innings, we're talking about Fani Simhadri. 41 for 42 from Fani Simhadri. That one was Chanderpaul, and that one flirts with the tram lines, but the umpire shakes his head. 1 more ball to come. 2 more balls to come here in the 13th over. Atlanta trying to pick up their 4th win of the season and go to the halfway mark at 4-1. Opening up his stance was Jordan Warner, and he cuts it away to the onside. So another single, 94 for 2. Manohar will face the final ball of this over. And again, he opens it up and drives it back down the ground. But it looks like it may have been caught. Well, we'll check it here. It was a good stop by Manav Patel, who finishes 1 for 29. A good outing from him. But for 5 more runs added to the total. And with 7 overs to play, Atlanta 94 for 2. And they are chasing 127. So 33 required off the final 42 balls. Here's a look at where we've been so far. And again, an electric end to that first innings with Emilio Aponzo getting a hat trick en route to a 5-er. He went 5 for 10. Mark Dial and Dawood Azim also taking wickets, and Chanderpaul a half century. He almost carried his bat. Fani Simhadri got him on the next to last ball. And it's Shuaib Saeed who will come in and bowl his 2nd over. It'll be interesting to see how the Galaxy play out. It seems unlikely we'll get to the 20th over, but right now they seem like they have a game plan of only utilizing 5 bowlers. As Saeed begins, and a little elbow job down the ground by Jordan Warner. He will take a single. He's been very steady in this innings. And Nicholas Manohar, as we said, he hasn't needed to be at a run of ball. He is about an 8-run difference, but the Lightning have not required him to do that because he and Manik Patel, again, putting up an opening. I said it was an opening stand. It was actually, I keep forgetting that Heath Richards was bowled in the first over, so it was a 2nd wicket stand as Manohar cuts it away. And they'll take another run. Just like cogs in the machine here. 96 for 2. And again, if you missed the first innings, Orlando Galaxy really were not in any hurry, it seemed, to expend themselves against that Atlanta Lightning bowling attack. They got to 96, though, in the 17th over. They were 77 for 4 after 16. Warner smacks this one down the ground to the onside where Harrington comes over and plays it. So 97 for 2. There were 3 balls still to come in this 14th over. They were 77 for 4. Only gave up they all came in, gave up 13. Then Simhadri, 23 runs as Henrik Hardik Desai came in and was hitting the ball well. Manohar is going to get at least 1 here. In fact, he'll get a couple. So Nicholas Manohar creeping ever closer towards a half century. Not sure if he'll get it, but he's played a stout innings here and has done exactly what Mayank Patel and his team have needed him to do, and that is keep the scoreboard churning. They're up to 99, and he tries for the 100 with a reverse sweep. He won't get any extra style points for that, but it will bring the 100 up with a flare, and Manohar now goes to 38. He hasn't been needed to hit the ball past the rope, but that is his 3rd boundary to go with the 6. So 24 required off the final 37. Syed will start from his mark. This time he tried to pull it, and he's gone LBW. Manohar doesn't like it, but Syed has the last word on Nicholas Manohar's innings. He does better than he did yesterday when he had 38. And it looked like all 3 lights were red on that one. So Syed gets a wicket. He's 1 for 17. The end of the 14th over comes with the dismissal. And the Atlanta Lightning are 103 for 3. So there you see Syed taking his place alongside Manav Patel and Pranav Batad in the wickets column. But Mayank Patel and Nicholas Manohar combining for 81 runs. But 24 required from 36. Atlanta Lightning still probably favored to win this game if you were doing that. And you can see if you look at that extras column, the Lightning bowlers a lot tighter, only giving up 1 wide and 1 leg by. But 7 wides, 4 byes, and 1 leg by. So 11 balls 11 runs that perhaps were preventable. And Preston Clark is tossed the ball. We'll see if he can pick up another wicket here, as Mark Dayal will come in at number 5, but he will start on the non-strikers end due to the changeover. And so Jordan Warner has proven himself to be a very capable batter, and I wouldn't be surprised if he and Dayal saw this out, but we'll see what happens. Clark on his mark. And he bowls, and Warner trying to cut it away. And Christopher Van Tol almost in slow motion threatening a stumping. 2 West Indians there. Shorter ball whacked by Jordan Warner. And the fielder comes up with it quickly and restricts the nonsense to a run. 104 for 3. 23 required now, and the Lightning looking very much like they're going to go to 4-1. And the Royals are closing in on the victory at Church Street Park. They need 7 from the final 24. So the Royals, will give you a vague idea as to what the standings will look like in just a moment. And a reverse sweep, and I don't know that I've seen a reverse sweep miss that badly, and Mark Dial has just showed me what that would look like. He was way early on that one, and he was spinning wildly. 3 balls to come in the 15th over, 23 required to win. Dab down to the offside, heading to backwards point, and Dial is off the mark on his second delivery. 105 for 3. So the Royals, with the victory for now, would move to 7 points, and they would be in second on points, and they are a full game behind the Atlanta Fire. They do have a game in hand. The Lightning, if they win, would go up to 8 and would move into second for now. And as we said, there would be a clear gulf between the top 3 teams, the 2 Atlanta teams in Baltimore, and the bottom 3 teams, which are the 2 Florida teams in Morrisville. And I don't think the Galaxy are playing particularly bad cricket. The Lions, they're really trying, as Clark and Warner opens up and smacks this one to the onside. And Warner has smacked it over the fence for a maximum. So Jordan Warner takes a nice hearty chunk out of the target with a smash. And it's 111 for 3. 17 from 17 for the young man. Well, I think it's going to be a really good asset for the Lightning. Final ball of Clark's over. Hit more on a line. Stopped by the fielder. And they can only take 1 off of that, and Jordan Warner will retain the strike heading into the 16th over. 112 for 3 Atlanta Lightning. They require 15 from the final 30 balls. So we'll see what happens. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see the scramble. And for the Royals, who will play 3 games next week, an opportunity to really put the screws on both the Lightning and the Fire. Syed will come back in for his third over. And so here he comes. Off spin, and he's bowled him. And Jordan Warner, who was looking good, will not see out the end of this match, and Syed has his second wicket. Good for him. Went for the spin right through the gate, and it was a good break. And he cleans them up. And so Jordan Warner, 18 from 18, played well, but he will not be there at the end. So 18 from 19, beg your pardon. And Syed now 2 for 17. Shuaib Syed, 2 from 17. And we'll see who they send out now here. If I would guess, let's see if I'm wrong here. I would say Mark Parchment. If I had the hazard a guess, but we'll see. So 112 for 4, but 15 required off the final 29 balls, and I was right. It is Mark Parchment. Now, we talked about the very first game that was scheduled between these 2 teams. They were set to play a doubleheader at the cricket grounds in Atlanta, the Parham Veers cricket grounds, on August 22nd, 2021. And the Atlanta Lightning, as they were known then as the Parham Veers, set, I think, and somebody will have to check for me on this, the highest partnership and the highest 1 innings total. They were 247 for 1 in their 20 overs. And Mark Parchment and Zain Syed were both 111 not out as Parchment defends the ball back to Syed, to Soeb Syed on this occasion. There is no run. Syed was Zain Syed was 111 not out from 50. Parchment was 111 not out from 58. And he's going to get a run here. They combined for a 208 partnership. And Atlanta looked all the world like they were going to cruise home to a victory. And Mother Nature had other plans. And so they didn't complete that game. They tried playing a 14-over game later that day. And Zain Syed had 49 not out, but the game was interrupted 8.5 overs in with Atlanta 106 for 2. So they played both of the games they were scheduled to play that season were rained out. They've played 6 games since then with no interference from Mother Nature. And Atlanta has won all of them. And it looks like they're going to win their 7th game in a row. Over Orlando. But the Galaxy are not going to lay down by any stretch of the imagination. Went for a reverse sweep, did Mark Dial, but no contact. Syed coming back with a good ball. And he's bowled well in this particular over. He's 2 for 18. He'll still have 1 over left. Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the 17th. Again, Chanderpaul looking like he's going to go with 5 bowlers, defended by Dial, but not far enough to score. So 14 required from 25. The Lightning in control here, but a little bit of tension here. Manav Patel bowled out 1 for 29. Pranav Batad bowled out 1 for 17. And that one is cut away. Quick peg at the stumps. Now, he did hit it with a direct hit, I believe, but I think it was a half a step late. And so Mark Parchment, or rather Dial, will keep the strike. But just 2 runs. Good over by Saeed, and he gets the wicket. You got Jordan Warner clean bowled, and after 16, Atlanta needing 13 to win are 114 for 4. So confirming the result from Baltimore, from Church Street rather, the Baltimore Royals winners by 6 wickets over the Morrisville Raptors. So the Royals now are 3-0 with the 1 rainout from last night. And it will be Orrington Hamilton who will come in for the first time. So just as we said that Chanderpaul was probably going to stick with 5 bowlers, he decides not to. And we'll see Orrington in, and he has bowled twice so far. In fact, in the first night in the game against Atlanta Fire, he took a 3-fer, and he gives up a run to start here. He was 3 for 27. And in 5 overs total, he was none for 9 in his other inning, and he hasn't bowled since the second night of the season. So it's been a minute for him. 12 required off of the last 23 balls. Skosh over a half a run a ball. Mark Parchment stands in from the right side. Hamilton with a shorter ball that Parchment has to defend. I think they're more worried about getting the win here than they are about the run rate, which is a perfectly cromulent strategy. I'm a Simpsons fan, can you tell? And that one just got the bottom edge and somehow or another eluded the furniture. So Parchment gets a run, gets a single. And it's 11 required from 21. Parchment now has 2 runs to his name. The middle of the order here. We said Parchment, I think if he really wanted to here, he could really, if either one of them wanted to, they could swing away. Shorter delivery, little flick up in the air by Mark Dial, and we'll pick up another single. 117 for 4, and now it's 10 off the final 20. Well, this has been it's been a fun game. In that first innings, as we mentioned, if you're just joining us late, Emile Ponso, the 12th hat trick in minor league cricket history, taking a fifer, as that one is turned onto the leg side by Mark Parchment. And Van Tull has to come all the way back to scoop it up with one glove. Another run is peeled off the target, so 9 required from 19. In fact, that'll be given as a leg by. 118 for 4. And for the Orlando Galaxy, I think you have to be proud of how you played today. I like I said, I don't think they're playing terrible cricket this season. I think they're playing good cricket, and I think if you keep up at this level, the results will come. As Hamilton bowls the final ball of the over, it is a dot ball on the miss by Mark Dial. 18 balls remaining to get 9 runs. Atlanta, after 17, are 118 for 4. So Syed will come in to bowl his final over. He's bowled well, 2 for 19. He's been the second most economical bowler today. And Parchment opens up and front foots it down the ground. They'll pick a run. 119 for 4. 8 from 17 required. We said the Lightning will be off this week, and then they'll be home. Both of the Atlanta teams will play out the second half of their season at Paramveers Park, where they just had the World Cup qualifier for the U19s, U.S. qualifying for the U19 World Cup. They all steps back, hits it in the air. A fielder is there, but it gets under him. And Orrington Hamilton not only misjudges the ball, but it skitters under him like a cockroach on the bathroom floor. And so 4 for Mark Dial, and the resistance fades fast. And now a boundary will win the game for the Atlanta Lightning. They are 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Well, we've mentioned how well, and Orrington Hamilton, we mentioned that spectacular catch he took on opening night against the Atlanta Fire. But it is Mark Dial. Is this the moment? He steps back. He laces this one to the offside, and that is that. The Atlanta Lightning are your winners today, and they have done so in a straightforward fashion over a very game and very hungry Orlando Galaxy side, who unfortunately for them have now dropped their 10th consecutive game and go to 0-5 on the season. Mark Dial hits the winning runs, and it is a 6-wicket victory with 15 balls to spare. But after Heath Richards was dismissed for a golden duck, Manohar and Mayank Patel came up. They put on a partnership of 74 runs, and that pretty much paced them. Manohar hung around, ended up on 38 before being LBW. Jordan Warner played a good hand, 18 from 19, and then Dial was instrumental in seeing out the victory. The bowling figures for the Orlando Galaxy. Shuaib Saeed caught up a couple of wickets. He was the pick of the bowlers, a 2 for 28. Pranav Batat, I think, was the best bowler. He was 1 for 17, very economical. Manav Patel 1 for 29. 13 extras in the end doomed the Orlando Galaxy in this match, and I think that was their downfall. They didn't play badly. We'll say that. As we said, they played a very strong match. As we said, at some point, the result will come. And not on this day, despite a great effort by Chanderpaul, 59 from 49, his 11th half century. Christopher Van Tull also played well at the start, 36 from 37. A look at the up-to-date table, and there it is. The Atlanta Fire, a one-game lead over the Atlanta Lightning, who sit in second on 8 points. The Baltimore Royals, thanks to their win just now, they're on 7, and it looks like it will be 2 of those 3 teams that will advance. The Raptors on 3 points, and then the Orlando Galaxy and Fort Lauderdale Lions still in search of their first win. They will play each other here in Orlando in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm sure one, if not both of those teams will get a victory, and it will be a hard-earned victory, but they can both hopefully keep their heads up high after their performances this weekend. So that'll do it, and it's been great to be able to call matches at this magnificent new ground. May it be the first of many, and may it bring many more enjoyable games and many more memories of fantastic cricket, not only for minor league cricket, but beyond here in the Orlando area. That's going to do it for us. My thanks to Roddy and everybody at the ground. My thanks to Priya and the folks at the production shack for putting this all together. And our thanks, of course, to you for joining us. And we'll talk at you not only this weekend, but next weekend for round 3 of minor league cricket action. Until then, this is Brian Barish, and I wish you a pleasant good evening.